Hello and welcome to Designer Discussions with Jason and Miriam. Today we're going to be talking about how you can stop doing random acts of marketing in 2026.
Welcome to the Designer Discussions podcast with
Jason.
and Mirjam. Tune in each week where we talk about marketing, PR, and business advice for design professionals.
So hello, everyone. Nice to have you here. This is one of the episodes we do every year where we do an overview of your marketing plan for the year. And luckily enough, we actually have a masterclass happening right now on this same topic, which we'll talk a little bit about at the end. But what we're going to talk about today is what are the elements or what are the pillars that you need to be doing now to have success in 2026?
Yes, so we're talking about how to think about your 2026 marketing without creating a huge plan that you'll honestly probably never look back on, because we all know that the beginning of the year, especially January, usually feels hopeful. And by March, most people are just winging it. And I'm not even excluding myself. But our hope is that by the end of this episode, you'll have a simple way to decide what to focus on and how to get started in quarter 1 of this year.
So what we're going to talk about is random acts of marketing, what happens when you do it that way. And then we're going to, talk a little bit about the pillars that we have for that. But so what we find and what I see a lot with design and remodeling companies is that they do random marketing where they'll start to do a certain task, whether that be social media, SEO, paid ads, or whatever. They'll do it for a while and they'll stop. So they'll do it for a couple months and stop. Or the other end, they'll do it for a while, have success, get a client, and then stop. And so what happens when you do either of these ways is that you lose momentum because whatever tactic you use is going to take time for it to have an effect. So if you only do it for a few months, it's hard for you to see if it'll work or not. I would say at a minimum, any type of marketing you do, you want to at least allow 6 months to see if it's going to work or not. If you do anything less than that, it's going to be hard to tell. Then at the same time, if you get a client and you stop, it's going to be hard for you to pick back up because, as you know, everything changes. So if you get a client now and then a few months you want to pick back up, 9 times out of 10, what you did before may not work again. So you'll have to relearn everything. So stop all of the random acts. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can have success with the pillars that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And for example, like in the world of PR, which is my specialty, I run into people all the time that they really want to get published, right? And they think about doing it, but they don't actually take action. So, but the issue isn't discipline or laziness. It's really that things just live in their head and they don't have a simple structure that they can follow to actually get it accomplished. So that's what this framework and really everything that we are teaching is supposed to do. It's supposed to get you out of your head and into action.
What we had talked about in the masterclass and what we're going to talk about today is at a high level, the 5 pillars. When we talk about what you need to do for this year in your marketing game plan, you need to focus on the 5 pillars, which are the foundation, the visibility, the authority, nurture, and sales. So I'm just going to talk high level on each one of these. But like I said, if you want to know more, we're going to have a link where you can hear us go into detail to each of these. So on the foundation piece, what that is that's just looking at where you start. You've often heard me talk about knowing who your ideal client is. And we have episodes, and I'll have a link in the show notes to one of the episodes where we talk about who your ideal client is, going through that exercise. And then once you know that, making sure you have your branding in order, that it applies all across all channels, and then applying that to your website. So that's your foundation in essence. Then with the visibility, we talk about making sure that you're visible across all platforms, but you don't have to be on all platforms. Again, you need to know who your ideal client is and reverse engineer to help tell you what platforms you need to be on. So those those platforms where your ideal client is, you need to be on those platforms and how you do all of that. One of the ones, no matter who your client is, you need to be on Google Business Profile. And there's a little bit we talk about there. Then the authority piece, that's into the PR, making sure that you have your name represented the right way. Because if you have a good name in the industry or in your local area, 9 times out of 10, homeowners or your ideal client will find you and want to work with you because you have that good name out there in the industry. Then on the nurture piece, we talk about how no matter what you do, you need to nurture your prospects, because I've heard over and over 80% of the cold prospects that reach out to you, they need to hear your name over 7 times, at least 7, 10 or more times before they even respond. So making sure you have some type of nurture in place, whether that be a CRM, whether that be email, and we talk a little bit about that, but having some type of nurture in place. And then the last one is sales. So once you have all that in place, how do you sell your services? Making sure that you have your sales process in place so you can convert the prospects into projects.
Yes. So, what does this look like in practice, and how are you supposed to use these pillars for next year? So, what we recommend is not to think in days or weeks. So, don't think it's like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to post, I don't know, schedule 10 posts for social media, or like not even in weeks, don't say, oh, next week I really am going to focus on SEO, but think about it in quarters, because a quarter is it's a longer time frame, and it gives you actually the opportunity to get things done. So, for example, instead of trying to fix your website, your social media, your emails and sales all in January, you decide, okay, my first quarter, I'm going to work on the foundation. Like in second quarter, I'm going to work on visibility. Third quarter, I'm going to work on authority. And Q4 maybe is about nurture and sales. So in practical terms, what could this look like? So a firm might potentially say, okay, in quarter one, and it might start in January, or maybe you start in February. It's like you can decide your own marketing year, so to speak. There's never a bad time to start. The best time is always right now or next month. So maybe in quarter one, you focus on the foundation and you start with your website. You update your home and your services page, maybe your portfolio. You make sure that your site reflects your current work and your location. It has all the basic must-haves of a website that Jason talks about actually in a lot of the trainings that we do. So that's number one. Maybe quarter two is visibility, and you don't have to go in this order. Like, you pick the order that's most relevant for you. But maybe for visibility, you pick one main platform and you set a simple weekly posting rhythm. This could be Instagram, maybe it's Instagram and Google Business Profile. You could combine the two. And you focus on keeping your Google Business Profile updated, which is the number one thing that Jason always talks about in this category. When it comes to authority, maybe that's your third quarter, and you say, okay, these 3 months, I'm really going to hunker down and I'm going to focus on PR. Maybe you create a fantastic case study or two that you can use on your own channels and pitch to the media. And maybe you say, okay, I want to at least pitch one regional or niche media outlet. It could also be that you want to get some quick press and get some of those press logos for your website. And then last quarter, you can, if that's what works for you, you do nurture and sales. You could do both at the same time. You start cleaning up or setting up monthly email newsletters, And maybe you take a look at your sales call script. Like when people call you first, how do you respond to that? Do you have a structure? Or you update your proposal template. Those are some of the truly most basic things that you can do.
Okay. If you heard me earlier, I had talked about us having a master class. So in there, we go over all these elements in detail. So I'm going to have that link in the show notes. But what I want to emphasize, whatever it is, whether you listen to what we have for the plan in our master class or you listen to somebody else, you need to have some type of accountability to make sure you implement whatever it is you do. Because if you are going to have success in 2026, you need to make sure that you have a plan and you have some accountability to help you implement it. That's an aspect of what we have in the master classes. We talk about that and we help you iron that out. And we have an option at the end to help you with the accountability piece. So listen to that. Like I said, I'll have a link to that in the show notes and we would love to have you there.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if you have tried before and you have failed, don't be discouraged, right? It's like we've seen this with students in our academy program and in other real world examples. It's like sometimes you have to try a few times. Maybe you just weren't ready when you tried to get press coverage, or maybe you're so frustrated with your website and it's so outdated you don't even want to get started. But try again. Really, I would encourage you just to try again and seek the help that you need. Maybe it's from a colleague, maybe it's from a family member, maybe it's from a group like ours, but just find what you need so you can move forward. And if it didn't work the first time or the second time, doesn't mean it won't work the third time. So don't give up and give it a shot. Yeah, like Jason said, if we can help you in any way, if you want to let us know what you want to focus on in your first quarter, we'd love to hear it. Also, if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. And we hope to see you back here again in 2 weeks on Designer Discussions.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Designer Discussions and all of the helpful information. Subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a review and share it with your friends. We look forward to having you back next week. For more information on the podcast and the marketing studio, visit designerdiscussions.com and follow us on social media.